Welcome to our podcast. So today we got the mayor of Parkland, Mr. Rich Walker. Thank you. Very welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let me introduce a little bit. And by the way, I need to read this because it's a bit extensive. So Mayor Rich Walker is a dedicated leader to advocate for the city of Parkland. I don't know if all you guys know, but Parkland is the city where Stoneman Douglas happened in 2018. This obviously has a huge impact in that city. We actually have in the show the mayor of Parkland at that time, and it was a very interesting conversation. And we decided to invite the mayor of Parkland because we want to know today what is his experience, how he sees the city, what efforts they're taking to improve the security there. He actually, we know that he's been instrumental in guiding Parkland through the development while maintaining close knit communities and try to improve the security overall in the city. How is the city of Parkland after Stoneman Douglas? How you see the change?
I mean, the city has gone through a lot of different steps over time. Now the city is in a much better place. But now February 14th is coming back, and you start to relive a lot of those memories that we had. But some of the positive things we've seen, the families who've been impacted most have continued to do things throughout, whether it's Stand with Parkland, Make Our School Safe, um, Max Schachter. There's been a lot of people who've taken this tragedy and tried to make change throughout the world. And being a resident or the mayor and seeing these families continue to try to improve things is really it's wonderful to see. It's really inspiring to know that they've gone through. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to lose a child. Everybody's going to have a different reaction, but the families in Parkland have really stepped up and have taken this tragedy and kind of moved forward. And I think the city feels that, and the city, is inspired by what they're doing, and we continue, to stay a close knit community, which I think is helps everybody to just kind of heal throughout the process because it's not something you ever get over totally. But obviously, you need to move on and continue to do things and have fun and enjoy moments and such. So, again, that's what we're going through as a city.
It is, in your opinion, and what is the root problem of school safety in the United States?
Well, I mean, that's obviously a big question, and there's a lot of answers. For me, I see if you just look at the world today, nobody likes each other. You're this or you're that, and if you're not this, then you're that, and then I can't be friends with you, and I can't. I mean, you hear stories of families not talking to one another for politics and for different things, and that really trickles down. You start to feel that at all the different levels. You turn on the news, and all you're hearing is we don't like these people, we don't like those people, we got these problems. It's
So it's a very polarized world that
yes,
we live.
yeah,
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 I think you're right. One of the things that we see in our schools, not only is the polarization, it's also, which is in line with the life of and the mechanics of groups. Obviously, there's always different groups, especially with kids, but we see, and we very worry about, we see that polarization, how translate with a complete lack of acknowledge of others.
hmm
And we think it's a great problem. In our experience, sometimes we deal with families, okay? And we see the importance of family. Personally, I believe that school instruct our kids. It teach them techniques, it teach them science, history, math, but it doesn't form them as individuals. That's something happen home. And unfortunately, we see this trend of sometimes parents who are expecting a school to form individuals. And those values, morality, respect for others, self-respect and respect for others.
Right.
They're not necessarily prevalent. They're not necessarily common sense anymore.
Right.
Or common there.
The family structure itself has kind of it's fallen apart. You have social media. You have both parents working. Those have made it very difficult for kids to get the attention and the structure and the morals and those different things that are just as important as learning your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. Knowing how to treat somebody, how to act when you fail, how to act when you win. Those are all important things. I know when I first moved to Parkland about 10 years ago, always coaching my children, always out on the fields and, engaging with them, engaging with their friends, engaging with the community. But what you see more and more as time goes on, you see the parents, you see them disconnecting from their children. They're on their phones. They're not watching them play the games, or they're just dropping them off and allowing the coach to do that. Which, look, a lot of families do need both parents to work. So not everybody has the luxury to have one parent stay home. When I grew up, my mom stayed home. My father went to work. I've been blessed where now in our family, I work. My wife is home with the children. She volunteers. She's obviously extremely busy, but she's engaged on a daily, not even a daily, on an hourly basis with our children, making sure that they're growing up, they're learning the right things as people, not necessarily about,
and they saw you guys, the way you treat each other, the way you treat others, and that is shocking for us. And I want to make reference to some studies that we come to have not long ago, where they analyzed the effect of these participation trophies, that
Right.
trend that was very prevalent not long ago, that you are essentially taking away the opportunity for these kids to develop that toolkit to allow them
Right.
to deal with failure, with rejection, even with humiliation, because somebody make fun of you, but if you don't have the tools to deal with that,
Right.
now what's going on?
Right.
How are you gonna take it? So especially in an era of social media.
Right.
The other day I was having dinner with my wife and my kids, and we saw the table next door, and they were a family very similar to ours. Everybody were on the phone.
Right.
Nobody was talking to each other. Everybody just in the phone. How I know where they're gonna need my help?
Right.
Because I think our mission as parents is to prepare our kids to where we are not around.
Right.
To prepare our kids, because one day I won't be able to go to school and fix that problem, or talk
Right.
to the principal, or talk to this guy. How are you going to deal with that on your own?
Right.
And as I told you, I mean, I think failure is learning.
Yep.
We in our life, we fail most of the time.
Right.
And then we get it right. That means that we learn what we need to learn to
Right.
get it there.
Yep.
If you don't have that mentality, your life is going to be really challenged. And that I think is something that I think very prevalent in the individuals that decide to take the action of becoming school shooters,
Right.
and hurt others.
Right.
I see a pattern there, and unfortunately, it's not just me. I see a lot of professionals seeing the same pattern there.
Well, you hear a lot of times when you hear about a school shooter, sometimes you hear other people in the community saying, well, that doesn't surprise me. Those are the things that tell you there was something out there that, that these kids were not connecting socially.
Correct.
Or, whatever. And that is a problem. And those are things that can be identified, whether it's through school, whether it's through parents, to try to find a connection to bring that person back, back into the social
Correct.
circle and say, look, there's a lot of things you can do. It's okay to fail. But if you don't have proper learning at home, it's, you're trying to figure it out on your own, and not everybody can figure it out on their own.
That's right. That's very good. Let me ask you something. We recently been talks about the federal mandate for school safety, similar to the one in Florida. As a company, we in part of our job is when we move to different states is bringing the same learning experience that we have in Florida. We've been very successful since the Stoneman Douglas Act in 2018 because we have no school shootings in Florida since that law was approved.
Right.
It's been so successful that we so far, we've been able to prevent this, and a lot of that is prevention. Will you support, as a citizen, as an individual, will you support a federal mandate for school safety? Obviously funded.
Right. I mean, whenever you can take a situation that you've learned from and you've built a model, which Florida has done, and put that in other places, that's obviously extremely beneficial. And it's something other states should accept and say, look, we've learned these tools, whether it's federally mandated or it's at the state level. Look, if I was a governor of a state and somebody came to me and said, look what Florida has done, maybe I don't need the federal government to tell me
Right.
this is what I need to do. But I, as a governor, I should be able to say, look, they got it right over there.
That's right.
Hey, let's have a conversation. Let me see what you guys did over there so I can implement those things over there. And that's just a philosophical, and it's not
Sure.
good, bad, or indifferent. For me, I think you can learn from other entities, whether they're states, local, federal, what have you. But for me, sometimes, whether it's a state or a municipality, they might take their own little twist because it's just different, right? Florida's not New York. New York's not Nebraska. Nebraska's not North Dakota.
That's correct.
And it doesn't mean you can't have a baseline of things you can do, but everybody's got to put their own little twist.
But in reality, this is not just a U.S. state phenomenon.
Right.
The other thing is that I got the other day in TV, I saw a specialist in school safety in a national broadcast saying that the first school shooting in the United States, you can trace the first shooting in the United States to Columbine. I was speechless, I'll be honest with you, because everybody knows that our first school shooting, as a school shooting in the United States, happened in 1764.
Right.
And we have a long history of school shootings in the United States. Not for the same reasons that we have school shootings today.
Right.
That's the biggest caveat here. It's not for the same reasons, but nevertheless, there were acts of violence with deadly consequences
Right.
in schools. Since even before we were a nation, that is prevalent. Florida is light years ahead of everybody.
Right.
In the nation. In the nation. How somebody can oppose to have a mandate and I'm meaning a mandate. I'm meaning bare minimum.
Right.
This is what bare minimum best practices you should be doing to run a school.
But that's one of the problems that we have in our society. It's you pick a side.
That's right.
We forgot that there's a big swath of the middle where we can have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we can come up with the best solutions.
That's right.
And it's not even over the past year or two. It's over the past decade and even longer, where that divide is getting
Bigger.
larger and larger and larger. Right. And until we can finally understand that there has to be middle somewhere, it's difficult to get anything done.
That's right.
In a constructive way, because everybody's trying to get whatever.
Something.
Yeah.
Bullets are the most apolitical thing there is there. They will kill me, you, and everybody else in between equally.
Right.
And the reality is that we need to protect life. That is our mission, your mission, my mission, because insurance will pay for everything else.
Right.
And they got plenty of money to do that. It's a great industry.
Look, as the mayor of Parkland, my number one job is safety of my residents.
That's correct.
And that's the number one job.
We salute you for that.
Yeah, and everything else is gravy. If you keep everyone safe, you've done a good job.
Excellent.
And if you can do anything above and beyond that, then you're really successful.
That's right. Preventing a school shooting. As a mayor of Parkland, what specific provisions and changes would you like to see in the future laws to prevent the next school shooting?
Well, to your point, Florida has done a fantastic job. And, being friends with Lori Aldeff, she lives in the city of Parkland, and she's done a fantastic job on the Broward County School Board. So she's implemented, single point entries, and she's done a lot of those things. Before I was elected mayor, just after the shooting, our commission implemented additional school resource officers at each school. So we have one per thousand.
No.
So in each of our elementary schools, we have two school resource officers, and they're BSO deputies. So they're fully armed, fully trained. At our middle school, we have two, and then at our high school, we have three. So we've stepped up what the bare minimum is. The bare minimum is one at each school. So we've done that. Again, it was the previous commission who implemented that originally, but we've kept that, and we'll keep it forever, because that is something that makes
a lot of sense.
It makes a big impact, because not only are you safer, it's a deterrent. People know you have that, and there's a lot of different reasons why it's beneficial to have that. But that's something that we've decided as a city, and certainly I'll continue to carry on as long as I'm the mayor, is making sure we have additional resources at the school.
Absolutely. One of the things that I want to piggyback in that is we right now in the state, the best practice should be to have one safe school officer or SRO per every 650 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, us as being in the business and being doing this for quite some time, we believe it should be 350.
Right.
There is no way that a school with 2,000 kids can be handled by a single officer.
Right.
It is not Superman. This guy cannot be in multiple places at the same time. We're talking about a huge amount of influx of kids arriving and dismissal. Again, the most vulnerable time for the kids: arrival, dismissal, and cafeteria.
Mm-hmm.
Having enough resources is invaluable.
Yes.
I can tell you by being in 17, 18 counties in Florida, that you are one of probably the most advanced in regards to having enough manpower in each school. And I salute you for that. It's really amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, continue with this. Reflecting on the tragedy of Parkland, how you think the city of Parkland is paying tribute to the victims and the families of the victims? How you see the anniversary of February 14 that is coming
Mm-hmm.
playing into your city?
So every year we have a commemoration. So we have something at our park where we'll play a video. We have clergy come and they'll speak, and we have some music and different things like that. We invite all the families to come, and we invite the community as well to kind of just get together as a community and just remember the 17. That's what it's about, and that's what we do the commemoration for every year, is making sure we never forget who the victims were.
Absolutely.
Because that is what is most important, to make sure their legacy carries on. And anytime we have opportunities to help the families in their missions, whether it's Lori Aladef, Tony Montalto, and Max Schachter, or whoever, we always try to make sure we're participating, we're engaged in their foundations, and making sure we're doing what we can to help support them. And not just from an elected official standpoint, but our community does the same. It's very engaging.
When we talk about failure, and when we talk about loss, and we talk about learning from that, that's a great learning. So they pay for our learning. They pay for the saving. They save the life of so many students, and that's the way I see it.
Yes.
That's the way I spoke with Tony Montalto
Mm-hmm.
not long ago. He's a great individual. He got a mission right now, which is to harden the structure of the schools.
Yep.
So every classroom is a safe room.
Right.
Great initiative. We support it 100%. And we ultimately talked to him and his wife, and I told him that they truly transformed this from a tragedy to something else that actually help and save. I don't think we'll ever know how many lives they actually saved so far.
No, and I think that's something that they probably don't even realize as they're going through this. They're going through this, and they're trying to do everything they can to make people safer. But sometimes I wonder, do they sit back and realize how much that they have accomplished? I mean, speaking with Lori before, she's in multiple states with Alyssa's Law, I mean, she's really done. They all have done something,
Absolutely.
which is just amazing
Amazing.
to witness, and
Absolutely.
it's extremely inspiring.
I, I, I agree with you 100%. They're amazing people. The way that they cope up with the laws, and I cannot even imagine. I'm a parent of two.
Hmm.
I love my kids. I keep telling my employees, because we protect schools, that in this business, your kids are the kids that are in the school. They're my kids,
Right.
and I will die for my kids. I will tell that bullet for them in any given day. And you have to have that mentality.
Hmm.
When you have that mentality, there's nothing in the world will stop you to protect them, and that is important thing. As I told you, insurance will pay for all the vehicles in the parking lot.
Right.
There's not enough money in the world to buy a second on the life of anybody, and that is paramount. If you are in this, um, I salute you for that. So moving forward, how is being after the tragedy? How you see the collaboration with law enforcement and security professionals, and the importance for Parkland moving forward, growing as a city. How is that relation improved?
It's improved, dramatically because look, obviously we had to learn a very hard lesson of you know communication and what that's about. So we do the best that we can to make sure we're engaged with the school board in different topics. Obviously, with our BSO, BSO has even done a fantastic job. They've upped their training practices, their different things that they do to make sure that their deputies are better prepared
Right.
than they were on that day. So, we continue to make sure that all these things are happening. Whether it's our fire department, our BSO, police stations, the school boards, our SROs. The biggest thing is that we're collaborating and communicating to make sure if somebody sees something, you say something.
Absolutely. Well, I want to add to that we see the change. Our personnel is obviously certified and trained with the different agencies. One of them is BSO. And I have to say that after every tragedy, we learn something. One of the first things that happened after Valde was that we analyze the case. We get our hands on the preliminary reports, and we don't see these from TV, by the way.
Right.
We saw a lot of, and this is something that's very disturbing to me. Depending of the channel that you see, and that polarization, you see the narrative being shifted one way and another way, and they missing the real hard core of what happened.
Right.
I remember on TV they were saying during Walde, well, one of the teachers left the door open because she put a stone because it was in a smoke break. That's not true. You know that building only have 3 doors. All of those doors were open, always. Nobody had the keys.
Right.
The classrooms were never locked from the inside, which is a practice that we have here in Florida by law.
Right.
You have to keep those doors locked from the inside while they're in session. None of that happened.
Right.
So there was one SRO assigned to 5 schools.
Right.
I think as a parent, as a safe school officer, which I am, not having a police officer or a safe school officer or a guardian in a school while in session is criminal. You shouldn't be able to run a school like that because you are putting in risk the life of somebody else's kids.
Yep.
They're your kids. They are at your care at that moment.
I mean,
Number
you
one.
have them at the courthouse.
There you go.
You have them at the police state. You have them, everywhere.
Correct.
Banks,
but you cannot have it in
banks
school.
have them. They're everywhere.
There's everywhere, and it's incredible for me that and I think it's a disservice to all of us. Then we even have to have the discussion on this and have to try to find the funding to do this, where our youth, our kids are the future of this nation.
Right.
Not us. We already in mid-age.
Right.
What about our kids? What is their opportunity to grow and to do this?
Right.
So that's my big, and it's not political. It's life.
Right.
We need to protect life. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're staying, your political background. your beliefs, life is life.
Right.
And I strongly support that. I know you too.
Yes. No, we're strong believers in making sure our schools are protected from the inside with SROs.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. I strongly support that. I really thank you very much for being here. I
No,
don't know if
thank
you
you
have
very
any
much.
other remarks, any other remarks for your.
No, this was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.